Welcome back, everybody, to Empyrion Galactic Survival on Alpha 12.2. I'm an old guy gaming, and it is July 16th, late in the afternoon for me. And we just got the news not too long ago, a couple hours ago, I think. Well, at some point earlier today, we got the news that Empyrion is now going to leave early access. Very interesting, very interesting. I've heard a couple of different comments on the Discord and from you guys on the YouTube here about how you feel about that. I myself am going to kind of just keep a neutral stance on that. I mean, my opinion is this, okay, if you're interested. My opinion is that I just love this game to death. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorite games. But there's still a lot more that needs to be done, or that could be done to make, turn this game into something just absolutely amazing. I'm not going to go into what those things are, not on this video anyway, but there's just more work to be done. And so I guess I just hope, and I know they said they would, right? But I just hope that the things that still need to be done in this game will get done eventually. And, I hope they will. I have faith that they probably will, but, it's one of those things we just have to wait and see. So, I mean, congratulations to Empyrion for that. I mean, I'm certainly not against, them doing that. I just want to make sure that this game still gets the TLC that it's had in alpha, and eventually gets to the point where it's the best damn space survival game out there. Okay, enough said about that. It is, like I said, it's late afternoon on July 16th, and I have not received enough feedback from you guys yet from the video that I released this morning on whether or not you want me to start a new Let's Play or continue the current Let's Play. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit more building here in today's episode. And I'm going to make a couple further adjustments to the blacklight that kind of occurred to me after, the video that we did yesterday, or that I released today. And then I also finished at least the first iteration, I guess we'll say, of the Jade Jet version 9 tier 4. And so we're going to bring that in, and I'm going to talk about it and go from there. Okay, so I just started a new creative save, so we're starting on a fresh map here. So let's just get a little ways off the dock of our space station. Right here is probably good enough. And make sure we level out. And let's first bring in the black light. So we're going to go to capital vessels and select the black light, spawn, and boom. Okay, so we got that in, and then let's also go ahead and spawn in the Jade Jet. Maybe I'll do that over to the side here of the black light for the moment. This is probably good enough. Okay, let's make sure we're level. And then we're going to go to small vessels and Jade Jet version 9 T4. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the Jade Jet first. So guys, I worked for hours on this. I was up till like frickin' 1:30 in the morning, as a matter of fact, so I've been kind of tired today working on this. And here's the thing. It was really difficult for me to get this ship to perform the way that I want it to. And it had nothing to do with, CPU availability. We have plenty of CPU left. It has everything to do with thruster placement and just the overall shape of this ship. So most of you probably know that, with the new thruster mechanic that they came out with in Alpha 11, you have to have your thrusters out, further out on the ends of the ship in order for you to have good performance, is what I'm trying to say. And because this ship is a long cylindrical shape, except for the back on the wings, it was really hard for me to get all the thrusters in place and get the performance out of it that I wanted to. One thing that I didn't want to do, and I still don't want to do, is put a million RCSs in this ship just to get it to perform well. And so it doesn't have a single RCS in it at the moment. But it does have a shitload of thrusters, more than I would really like it to. But trust me, I had to put all those on there in order to get it to perform, you know, the way that I want it to perform. So let's look at that first. If we look here in the statistics window, these are the specs right now. So it has amazing, in fact, almost too much acceleration. And the problem with that is, you know, if I'm trying to do like you know, just if I'm trying to go slow, like, you know, to dock it or whatever, I gotta be really careful because the thing just takes off like crazy. And, you know, I didn't deliberately make it so that it had 314 meters per second acceleration. But what I had to do is I had to put these ginormous thrusters on the tips of the wings on both sides, in addition to the XXL thruster, which I told you guys I was going to put back on the ship, in order for the damn thing to turn. And you know, and it has great yaw. I mean, it's beautiful. 74 degrees per second is amazing for yaw. It turns just, you know, amazingly. Maybe even almost to the point where I might even tone it down a little bit. I don't know, but before I added those thrusters, I had really bad yaw. I mean, it was like below 20%, or, you know, like 22%. It was just not enough for, you know, what I like to have in a ship. And so I tried one solution where I added a bunch of smaller thrusters to the tips of the wings, and then, you know, tried to put some blocks around it and make it look halfway decent. It wasn't doing it for me. It wasn't doing it for me. So I finally, you know, just capitulated and said, all right, I'm just going to put these big ass jets on the end of it. And as soon as I did that, it completely fixed the yaw situation, and now it turns really well. But then I was having problems with pitch, and the pitch is still not to the point where I would like it to be, and that kind of, you know, came again more into play with, you know, thrusters. This, I don't like the way this looks, but I had to put these 3 thrusters here, guys, because there is no place for me to put them up here. Not even like the little T1 small thrusters, because if I did that, you know, they're going to be right over the passenger compartment, and, you know, when you walk in there, you're gonna get roasted and radiated and all that nasty stuff. Oh, we have got to turn that off. That sound thing is just, you know, it blows my eardrums out. Okay, so we'll turn the signals off. There's just no other place on the front of the ship that I could put, you know, these down thrusters, except for right there. And I'm not happy about it, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have a ship that performs well than looks well. I mean, I want it to look good too, I obviously do, but performance to me is even more important. All right, so, you know, and same thing here. I don't like the fact that this thruster is sticking out as far as it is, but, you know, it is. And I want it to go, as much as possible, I want it to go with the jets, so that we have the boost function and not just the normal thrusters. So wherever I could, you know, I put the jet thrusters in so that we can take advantage of the boost. And you'll see why that's going to be important when I take the jet for a spin here in a little bit. Okay, so this is basically the end product. Now, I'm also not super pleased with the strafing on the ship either. It's at 41 meters per second, which isn't, it's okay. I'm sorry, not that, 46 meters per second. It's okay. It gets the job done. It's not terrible, but I'd like that to be a little more responsive, but I can't put any more thrusters on here. It's already terrible as it is, you know, with all the thrusters that are on here, you know, the side thrusters. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to have to live with it, and you know, we'll make the best of it. And like I said, it's not terrible. It is workable. You can use it, but it's just not as much as I would like it to be. So, yeah, the problem that the biggest problem I had with it is getting the pitch to a reasonable level. And right now it's 44 degrees per second, which is okay. In fact, that's actually not bad at all, really, at least for me. You know, with my preference on how the ships perform in the game. But it took me to finally break down and put these thrusters here to do that. I was absolutely not going to touch the nose of the ship, because I really like the way that looked, or the way that it looks, and I didn't want to change that no matter what. So, you know, this was the solution that I came up with, you know, for the down thrusters. Now, because if you guys didn't know this, in order for you to have good pitch, you have to have thrusters as far back to one end and then as far back to the front end as possible in order to, you know, get the pitch that you're looking for. The one place that it's still pretty weak sauce is the roll. So it's got, the roll is definitely weaker than I would like it to be. It's only 25 degrees, but I can kind of compensate that by using the boosters. So if I boost while I roll, then it's good enough for me. And, you know, we're not going to sit there and just roll for 20 seconds straight either. So, you know, I think we can get away with it by using the boost function, which is partly why, of course, I wanted to, you know, put all the boosters on. Okay, so as far as weaponry goes, we have a lot of room to play with CPU-wise on this ship. So we could add quite a bit more armaments to it if we wanted to. But the way that I currently have it set up for the workshop is it's got 4 Gatling guns, so we got 2 in the nose, and then 1 on each side, and then it's also got 4 homing rocket launchers. And I decided to put, you know, some front wings on the ship using the Delta wings, and then I built like this little pod that we could put the weapons in, and I think it works out pretty good. A nice thing about it too is it keeps the rockets a little bit further out from the fuselage, so that way if you're strafing hard and you shoot, you know, the rockets, you're not going to run into them, which I've had problems with that before on some builds. So yeah, that's pretty much where it's at. Let's take a look at the inside now. So I absolutely completely gutted this ship and redid it. The lighting in here is way oversaturated, but I really don't care too much about that because I'm not going to be spending that much time in here. And you know, if it is a problem for me, I'll just turn them off. All right, it's not that big of a deal. Because I like that, you know, green lighting effect that provides on the outside ship. And incidentally, I have no lights inside the ship. That's all coming from the outside. I could probably turn the intensity down or maybe the range down a little bit on it, but I like the way the ship glows because it is, after all, the Jade jet, right? Let's put the lights back on a minute and look at that specifically. So it's got this really nice green fluorescent glow to it, and I don't really want to change that. From the outside. It would look even better, it would be even more pronounced if we were in a darker area. So, you know, I can live with that. And here again, if you guys decide that you want to try this ship out and this bugs you, you can either turn down the intensity and or the range of the lights, or you can just simply, you know, turn those lights off, or you could make a custom switch to turn them off if you wanted to. So, you know, any of that would potentially work for you. Right now, I'm just going to turn them off all the way and use our shoulder light so you can kind of see exactly what's going on here. So we still have our passenger compartment here, and then what I did back here is, let's go ahead and get into God mode. All right, so back here we have the constructor, and I put in 1 ammo controller. That's the only controller that you really need in a small vessel, in my opinion, because the ammo controller serves the same exact function as a normal controller, plus the fact that you can put ammo in it. So we have 1 ammo controller, and then everything you see pretty much from this point, and including what's under the chairs, all the way back to the CPU extenders there, are all extensions. And so we have a total of almost 6,000 volume, which for a small vessel is a hell of a lot of space. So we have lots of volume, and we can haul a lot of stuff in this ship if we need to. You know, giving it that versatility. Because otherwise, you know, here's the thing about the extensions. I like to actually build, you know, within reason, of course, with the extensions, because of the fact that otherwise I would just be filling this space in with just normal steel blocks, and they wouldn't be serving really any purpose to speak of. So we might as well just use the extensions, and that way, you know, we're using them as blocks to fill in a space, but we're also getting the storage space out of them as well. Now, the extensions do use a little bit more CPU than the normal blocks, but, I mean, CPU is not a problem on this ship, so let's look at that. See, we're only at 65,000 and change, and we have all the way up to 100,000 here at Tier 4. Now, I just found out today from one of your guys' comments that you know what, some of you were saying you didn't think that I needed to have, you know, 1 Tier 2, 2 Tier 3s, and 4 Tier 4s. That you were saying that all I needed was a Tier 4, and that automatically, you know, meets the requirement. So what we're going to actually do is let's test that out. You know what, though? It might be easier for us to test that out on the blacklight than here, because if that isn't the case, I don't want to have to put this back together. Of course, I guess I could spawn it back in. We'll test it out on the blacklight. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I've got a couple oxygen tanks. So let's look at the front here. So up front, I've got our O2 station, our locker, armor locker, and a couple of refrigerators, and then the ventilator up at the front. We still have the 4 seats in there, of course. You can come back here and use the constructor if you actually want to use it directly, but of course you can also use the P menu for that. And you know, these thrusters definitely are going to be an issue if they're on while you're back here. So there wasn't a whole lot I could do about that, though, because you know the jet thrusters are 3 blocks long, and you know that's where they are, and it is what it is. So those are there. But all of these are, you know, like container extensions, and you know they connect down through the floor and back up the other side. So everything is connected to this ammo controller right here. Okay, so we've got our warp core. What's this called? Our scanner, our detector. Yeah, we have our detector there. We've got our warp drive here, and then right below that, you know, you can see that I have the other the CPU extensions, which we might be able to remove. Then we have some fuel tanks in here. We've got our wireless device, and we have right down here is the core. Yeah, there's the core right there, kind of underneath the wireless device. And then we've got a big XXL engine in the back, and that goes all the way back to, you know, outside the back of the ship. And I debated whether or not I wanted to hang this part out or, you know, have it all the way in, and I decided to hang it out mostly because if I put this all the way in flush with the fuselage, we won't be able to see the thruster. The thruster, you know, I want to see the thruster, so I just decided to let that hang out so we can actually see the thruster, because that's part of the coolness, right? Yeah, and then this is kind of what it looks like on the bottom side. I didn't have enough room to use the jets, so we used the tier 2 medium thrusters instead, you know, for these thrusters here. And again, we got just a buttload of thrusters you know, on the side for our lateral, and it's, like I said, it's still not really the way as good as I'd like it to be, but it is what it is. And then I put these 3 jets around the big thruster for back thrust, is in addition to these 2 up in the front. So it's a little bit weak sauce, you know, on the reverse thrust, but it's definitely adequate. I can live with it. In fact, what does it say for the reverse thrust? Let's take a look at that. A little about 25 meters per second. So, you know, yeah, not ideal, but workable. Definitely workable. I tried to put a thruster up here, but doing that affected my pitch. So if I put a thruster up on top of the wing here, it actually reduced the pitch by, you know, a couple 3 points, and so that didn't work. I did have a thruster up here on the top too in the older version, but I'm again, placing one there, believe it or not, affects the pitch, and it makes it so it doesn't pitch as well. So I ended up having to remove all that stuff and just kind of put like this decoration up here in order to do the pitch. Oh, by the way, this tail fin here is it's a little bit larger than the original one, so I put a little bit larger one on there, just because I felt like, you know, based upon the length of the ship, that it needed a little bit higher, you know, back fin. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for the Jade jet. Let's take a look at its performance now. It's not bad. It's definitely workable for me. Let's turn everything on. And oh, we're gonna need some fuel too. So let's go here and get some fusion cells. Let's get some pentaxa too, just so we can have the shields running while we're doing our test maneuvers. And we'll put some oxygen in. Let's grab some ammunition too, so we can load the weapons. So we're going to need 15 mils, and we're going to need 135 millimeter homing missiles. Okay, so we'll put all that stuff in. Let's go here, fill the fuel, fill the O2, fill the pentaxid, and fill up the ammunition. Now, I'd like to, I might make see if I can make a tier 3 version of this. I don't know. I mean, I could, right? I could definitely do it, but I'm not sure about that. We'll see. I'll mess with it a little bit But you know, this ship as it currently is, you know, with the size of the fuselage and the overall design, I don't think I can make it work at tier 2 and still have it be the ship that I want it to be. But I might be able to pull that off at tier 3. We're just going to have to try it out. Okay, so acceleration is just off the charts. I mean, look, look how fast that thing accelerates. And you know, duh, right? Because we got a double XL and then 2, you know, large rockets. So that's to be expected. And it, you know, it's nice for taking off fast, but it is a little bit of a pain in the butt when I want to dock on the ship, because I have, you know, just one little tiny tap of the button and the thing is just taking off like, well, a rocket. So, you know, one thing we could maybe do is set up a special switch to turn off, like maybe, you know, maybe the main engine, or even, you know, 2 engines, and just have, you know, one of the sides running if we need to do like delicate maneuvers. So that's something I might do, but I'm not going to do that right now, of course. So yeah, acceleration is amazing. Now here's the roll. Well, you can see the yaw is really good. I mean, that's very good. That perfectly works for me, and the pitch is good too. The up pitch is not quite as responsive as the down pitch, and again, I think that partly has to do just with the thrust replacements, because the thrusters are not perfectly even on all points, just because of the way this ship is and the design of it and so forth. But you know, pitch is adequate. I can certainly live with it and work with it. Strafing, it's decent. It's decent. So you know, let's use the rockets just to kind of get a feel for it. So it's not bad. It's not bad. I would say it's almost good, but not like really good. But it's certainly fair, at least for my taste. It kind of depends upon who you are and what you like too, I suppose. But it's definitely good enough for, you know, combat with like a POI turret and that sort of thing. So we can live with it. The rolling, this is the normal row, so you can see that is really, really bad. But if I put the boosters on, then it's better. It's still not as good as I'd like it to be, but I just didn't know what else I could do to this ship to improve the roll. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I'm not even sure exactly what affects the roll in terms of thruster placement. I'm not really sure, so if you guys know, let me know in the comments. But see, as long as I boost, roll's okay. It's adequate, it'll get the job done, and we can live with it, okay? But again, I'm boosting in order to get it to roll that fast. If I don't boost, that's what it does. So it's pretty weak sauce, but like I said, we can live with it. All right, so as I'm doing my maneuvers, every once in a while the generator, you know, will spike, but I'm not really too worried about that because it doesn't happen all the time, right? If I do like some hard maneuvers here, sometimes it'll just very briefly go up into the red, but for the most part, as you can see, it's staying down, you know, 16%, 20%, up to 30. I have 3 generators in the ship too, by the way. I think I do, right? Let's take a look at that. Yeah, so there's three jennies right there. Here's a question for you guys, and I tried to actually look this up online, and I couldn't find a good answer. Notice that it says my ship has a maximum output of 4.5 I guess that's kilowatt power units or whatever, 1,000 power units. But it says the ship has a current output of 5.17. Now, if this was a base, sometimes that happens because of solar power, but we have no solar power. This is a small vessel. You don't have solar power on a small vessel. So where is that extra current output coming from? I'm just curious. If you guys can explain that to me, I would appreciate it, because I have not been able to find a clear answer on you know, how that works. Okay, so anyway, power's pretty good. Like I said, I'm not worried about it. We do occasionally get the little spike, but it's not enough, you know, to really be concerned. Let's see. We have in our fuel right here. So we have 4,800 capacity, which is pretty good for a small vessel. You know, but you know, there are a lot of thrusters and there's some big thrusters. So this, I wouldn't necessarily say this vessel is fuel efficient, but it's not, you know, I don't think it's severely lacking either. And you know, there is room inside if I wanted to reduce some of the extensions to add more fuel tanks if I feel later on that I need to. And for that matter, we could even add another generator later on if we felt like we needed to, but I don't think we do. I mean, if you watch my generator meter, it's doing pretty good. It's just, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 times that I just noticed it spike for just a moment. And so I'm just not worried about it right now. But if it turns out later on that it is causing a problem, we'll address it at that point. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much the Jade jet, guys. Let's go ahead and head back to the blacklight, and we're gonna make a couple of modifications to the blacklight, and we're also gonna test the we're gonna test and see if in fact we don't need those why isn't my because I put the cruise control on, duh. If we don't actually need the tier 2 and the tier 3 extenders. Hold on a sec. Okay. There we are. Feel free to download this from the workshop when I unload it and mess with it some more if you want to. What I would like to have, here's what I would like to have. And guys, I am no Jeff Randall. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not the best Empyrion builder in the game by far. I don't aspire to be, and I don't want to be. But I like to build in the game. You know, it's part of the game, and it's something I really like. And I do like to create something that I built and then actually use it in survival. There's something really satisfying about that. But that being said, I'm not an expert builder, and I don't. I don't claim to be, and I don't think I ever will be. But all that said, what I would like for this ship, right, is I'd like it to have good performance, but get rid of some of those thrusters. I mean, it's just too much. But not by adding 100 RCSs. You know what I'm saying? So if any of you want to work with this a little bit and, see if you can get the thrusters mellowed out a little bit and still keep, more or less this performance that it currently has, feel free. And then if you think you can get it improved, let me know and I'll check it out, and if I like it, then I'll actually use it in the Let's Play. Okay, so feel free to do that if you want to. Also, I'll probably, like I said, I'm probably going to mess with the ship a little bit more, a different version, see if we can actually create a tier 3 version of the ship. It's not going to be easy to do though, because we only have 50,000 for tier 3, and one of the things I thought about maybe doing is making a shorter ship, right? So kind of trimming the fuselage back a little bit for the tier 3 version, so that whoops. I'm glad they don't have collision in this game yet. That's one thing I hope they eventually do put in the game, though, just for realism and all that. Anyway, yeah, I might try that. I might not. I haven't really decided yet about the tier 3 thing, so we'll see. Okay, so I can park the here, turn around. Here's another question I don't understand. Help me understand this, you guys. The space station and the blacklight is parallel to the is it the y-axis or the x-axis? It's flat. That's what I'm trying to say. When I hold O on my small vessel, it's almost like as if it's aligning with the gravity of the planet or something. Is that what's going on there? Because it didn't used to be that way. It used to be that if you pressed O, it just leveled everything out. So I'm curious about that. If you guys know the answer to that, let me know. I'd appreciate it. Okay, anyway, nevertheless, what I was going to say is I can fit the Jade jet in the hangar as it is, but it's really, really tight. And I've noticed that see, that's what, that's what I mean by the thing just takes off like crazy. We're going to have to tone that down. In fact, here, let's just mess with that just a little bit. If I go to, let's go to devices, and let's go to thrusters. We want our back thrusters here. Okay, so what if we were to, let's go here, and let's call this boosters. I don't think that works anymore. I think that's something I'm going to have to redo too. So let's just do it right here. So we're going to call, let's call this main thrusters. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to create a custom group. and we're going to put the big thruster in that group. So let's go to add to group. No. Add group. Okay. Let's call this main thruster. Okay. Now we're going to add this to the last group. Wait, did that work? That didn't work. Okay. All right, so that puts the big thruster in that group. Now what we're going to do is we're going to assign the to the group. We're going to assign the main thruster shortcut that we made, right? And that should then allow us to cut or turn off the main thruster without turning off the small ones. There we go. See, so now you can see that the main center thruster is not on. That way I can tap the the W key and not just launch off like a slingshot. Okay, so that's what we'll do. In fact, you know what else we could do now that I think about it? We could actually keep that main thruster off too, just to conserve fuel, and only turn it on when we really want to cruise. So that gives us that option too. Honestly, I mean, the ship, even without the big thruster in the middle, still has really good acceleration. But remember, I said the whole point of those thrusters all the way on the wingtips is I put them there so I could turn, because man, I could not hardly turn this damn ship until I did that. So it wasn't really for thrust, it was more for turning. Okay, so let's go excuse me, let's go here, and I'm going to make a couple of changes here to the black light. So we're going to, okay, let's just dock her right here for now, and we're going to cut all the thrusters. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to change this, because these engines, and this one in particular, tend to get caught right on the lip of this whosma was it? Whatever the hell you call that, shutter. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some things out of the creative menu. So we're going to need a multi-tool. And I'm going to want some combat steel. And I'm going to want a couple more shutters. So let's just grab a stack of those. I think that's all we need for the moment. Okay. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and pull this off. Oh, we got to turn the shield off on the black light. Whoop. Okay. Yeah, so let's pull this off here. Whoop. And we're going to pull that block out and that block out. Right? Yeah, right. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to put the shutters back, but we're going to actually turn them this direction. And the reason being is because the ship is a little bit longer than it was before, with this thing sticking out the back end, and so I need to flip the shutters around to the other side so it actually fits. Otherwise, it kind of just clips a little bit through the door, which isn't good. So let's put this here, but I think we want the 1x5. No. Oh, no, that's not the right one. I think it's a 3x5. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, so we're going to put one there, and we're going to put one there and one there. Okay, let's get ourselves a... Whoops. I'll go here. I want a color and texture tool as well. Okay, so now this big door is using the upper deck stern signal. So let's go ahead and assign these to the same signal. Let's group 2. So that way those will close, and then we'll likewise do the same thing on this side. So upper deck stern signal. Okay, now we're going to take the big bay door, which is a 5x5, and we're going to flip that around as well. And we need to turn it upside down, and it looks like it's the right direction. Okay, so we want the 5x5 door, and we have to get it. Yep, that's it. Cool. I had to put this in the floor like this. I know this is a little janky, but it's the only way I could get it to work, because if I put it right side up, the lip of this was too low for me to get the Jade Jet in. So in case you're wondering why this is upside down, that's the reason. Okay, let's reassign. Let's actually group first, and then we'll reassign that also to upper deck stern. And that should fix the doors. Okay, we just got to do a little bit of block work up here. Why is that light blue? That's not supposed to be that way. Huh, I never noticed that before. Weird. Okay, so all we're going to do out here is we're going to keep this pretty simple. I tried to mess with it to try and get all the angles flush, but it wasn't quite working out, and I said, screw it, we're not going to make a big deal out of it. We're going to keep it real basic, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to use this block here. Where are you? Let's go here. This guy. And we're going to put the ramp in there on both sides. And then we're going to go and grab the low ramp and just put it right there. And paint them up, and we're good to go. Let's do whole block. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I could put blocks in here to make this all nice and neat and flush, but I couldn't figure out how to resolve this part of it. So I figured, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to leave it like that and call it good. Make it look like that's the way it's supposed to be. Nobody will ever know, except for you guys, because I mentioned it. All right, good. So that takes care of all of those changes. Now let's go ahead and bring the Jade Jet into the hangar now. So we're going to go here. Just get off the ground a little bit and just ease her on in, and she's just right in there, fits nice and snug. And as soon as it docks, you know, the sensors are set to close the doors. All right, cool. Let's turn the thrusters off on the Jade Jet. And you, as you can see, there's like not very much room. But that's why I had to flip these around, because otherwise this little part would have been sticking out. Sometimes I'll back it in too, and in that case, you know, the Gatlings would have stuck out. But this works. I mean, it gets the job done, and this is the home of the Jade Jet. This is where it lives when we have our capital vessel. Cool. All right, let's go down to the lower deck. There's two things I want to do down here. First, I want to test the comment that was left for me about the CPU extenders. Okay, so if we gotta think about something for a minute. You know what? Let's just do a quick save of this. We're gonna just save it as. See, that's 1.8. Nah, I'm just gonna keep it blacklight. So let's just do a save as blacklight B, and that's just an oh shit save. That's not what I'm gonna actually put up on the workshop. Okay, so it was told to me that you no longer have to put 1 T2, 2 T3s, and 4 T4s in, that you just have to do either 1 T4 or 4 T4s. So I'm not sure about that. So let's just pick these up and see what happens here. What? That doesn't make sense. It's like the ship didn't register that I took the extenders out. What if we power it down and then power it back up? Oh, you know what? It's because we're in creative mode. That's what's going on. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, it's basically letting me do it because we're in creative mode. Okay, here's what we're gonna do then. Let me look at something for a minute. I want to look at that comment again. Hold on just a sec. I got to bring it back up here. Hey, it was JRWE that left me the comment, so thank you, dude, for doing that. First of all, pretty sure you don't need the T2 and T3 extenders, just the T4. When they first started with the extenders, you needed all of them, but pretty sure it's been changed. Okay, so he doesn't know that for 100% sure, but he's pretty sure that it is. So I interpret that to mean that we need all 4 of the T4s. We just don't need the 3s and the 2s. I think that's what he's saying. But we're, you know, what we can do is we'll spawn this into a survival game just temporarily to check it out and see if that's what happens. So, you know what, if that's the case, how about if we turn these this way? And that leaves a spot for me to put another T2 fuel tank, or T3 fuel tank, which was the other change I wanted to make. Because I was looking at this, you know, after I finished the last video for you guys, and these are all T2s. A T3 holds more fuel for the same space as a T2, so I'm going to replace all of these with T3s. But before we do that, well, what the hell? Let's just do it right now while we're here, while we're still in creative mode. So I need fuel tanks for capital vessel, and we'll grab the T3s, and let's go ahead and just quickly replace these. Wait a minute, hold the fort. Oh, I already have T3s up there, and then I put T2s below them. Okay, it's been a long time, guys, since I built this ship. I completely forgot about that. Okay, we're good to go. Never mind. Pay no attention to that old guy in the corner. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. I completely forgot about that. So I did know what the hell I was doing back then. I just forgot that I knew what the hell I was doing back then. All right, we'll put these back in place and make sure they're going the right direction. I think they are. And we'll just pretend like that never happened, okay? All right, guys, so let's do this. Let's do a save as... We'll call this the C version. And that's the one we'll spawn into a survival game just to test the theory on the CPUs. There might be a way to enable that in creative. I don't know how to do it, so yeah, I don't know how to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and log out of here. And we're going to start a single player survival game. We'll just do it on the noob planet there. Difficulty settings. So we want to make sure that CPU is on. Well, we can turn massive volume on. Doesn't matter. All we're testing is this anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Raptors are fast and deadly predators. You know, they need to update those. Those screenshots are so old. That's some old stuff, man. Those little Polaroid photos that they put on the load screen there. And then we're going to go into here and we're going to do SBP for spawn blueprint. And yeah, I think that's all we need to do. Now we'll go here and we'll go to capital vessel and we want Blacklight C spawn, and let's bring it back a little closer. There. Oh, it's not going to fall. Okay, whatever. We'll just go into God mode. All right, so now the question is, does this meet the requirements with just the 4 CPUs? So let's take a look. CPU statistics here. Yep, it does. Okay, cool. Excellent. All right, well, that's very good news, because you know what that means too, is it means I can remove the extra, you know, the T2 and 3 extenders that I put in the Jade jet as well. So JRWE, thank you very much for that tip. I really appreciate that. It's very good to know. When did they change that too? I didn't even know that. I thought you still had to do the same thing. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for this episode. We went a little bit long, but you know what the hell? It's a building episode, and I don't think I'll edit anything, so you guys get a little bit longer episode. Some of you will probably like that. Some of you probably don't, but it's just the way it is. So anyway, yeah, do let me know in the comments, if you would, please, if you want me to start a new Let's Play on 12.2, in which case we will start on the Swamp Planet. I already talked about that in yesterday's episode. Or if you would like me to continue the Let's Play that we started in 12.1, knowing that it is a 12.1 save and there could potentially, you know, be some problems down the road. So let me know that. As soon as I feel like I've heard enough feedback from, you know, the majority of you, or at least, you know, those of you who comment on a regular basis, then we'll make that decision, and we'll go ahead and start up the Let's Play series again. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel if you have not already done so. It doesn't take any effort, it doesn't cost anything, and it certainly helps the channel. If you didn't like what you saw, please consider leaving me a constructive comment, and I will definitely read it and take it into account. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.